In Genshin Impact, there's a really big focus on the 5-star characters, and that only seems to become more and more prevalent as the game goes on. 16 characters have been released since the start of version 4.0, and only 6 of those characters have been 4-star characters, as opposed to 9 of 17 characters in version 3.0 to 3.9, or 3.7 I suppose. People often forget or don't even know in the first place because of the focus on the 5 stars that some of the 4 stars in the game are super useful and strong, and some even rival or surpass their 5-star counterparts. 4 stars are often only considered at high constellations, but I have deliberately not put any of the 4 stars that require constellations such as Kujo-Sara or Faruzan on this list, as it can be difficult to acquire a lot of constellations for specific characters. These are not necessarily put into order of weakest to strongest, other than the last one, who is generally agreed on to being the best 4-star in the game. Now, let's get into the first one. Yar har fiddle-dee-dee. Oh god. This pirate packs a mean punch. The captain of the, well, only state-sponsored pirate ship that I know of in Genshin is our first pick on the list. She can, with her engaging and fun playstyle, deal a mean amount of damage. She can be off-field as a sub-DPS, or, though to a lesser degree, she can be used as a support in some teams, or she can be used as a fun main electro DPS, which is the main reason I put her on here, as she can be quite proficient at that, actually being able to deal an impressive amount of damage. She can be difficult to play, but really rewarding when you finally get her playstyle down. You've probably heard of a battle mage, but have you heard of a battle maid? A jack of some trades and a master of none. She can shield, she can do damage, she can heal, she can pour your tea, I suppose. I guess that's about it. But she's pretty good at it. She is probably a huge amount of people's first main DPS for a good reason, and she is a great alternative to someone like Ito. When her elemental bursts turns her slashes into huge Geo AoE attacks, she can do a fearsome amount of damage and be completely safe while doing it because of the shield that she made for herself. She is a self-proficient unit. Don't fear, Yao Yao's here. Well, I guess that only really applies if you're on the same side as her, because if you're an enemy, you should be scared. Yao Yao is a fearsome, though she may not look like it, well, other than her demonic plush bunny, Dendro Applicator, that can be a stand-in for someone like Nahida, who, if you don't know, is one of the best and most useful characters in the game. Check out my video going through some of the 5-star characters. She is the best 4-star Dendro Applicator and support, and as Dendro is one of the best, if not the best element in terms of pure damage from elemental reaction, she fits right into some of the best teams in the game. The true leader of the, well, mostly harmless Arataki gang, Kuki Shinobu, was a fairly underwhelming character on release, but with the release of Dendro soon after, she quickly became one of the best 4-stars in the game. She is without a doubt one of the best, if not the best, electro support character in Catalyze and Hyperbloom teams. She works pretty well as a healer, and that's super nice, not having to worry about the survivability of your team, and is especially important in Hyperbloom teams, as the bloom also do damage to your characters when they pop. She is probably the biggest comeback story of any character in the game. Illusion Delusion. The intrusional thoughts are getting to this one more than most, I would sure hope. Official. Crazy as she might be, she is still an incredible character. As an electro applicator and electro support and sub DPS, she is incredibly versatile and all round good. She can provide and apply a ton of electro on and off field and works really well in basically all teams where electro is needed, like your catalyzed teams, your overload teams, your electro charge teams, and even superconduct for Eula, I suppose, if that means anything to you, and a lot more teams. She is just really all-round good. Ling Yang, is that you? Oh crap, sorry, wrong game. Ga Ming is a relatively new addition to the Genshin roster. He is a DPS character, and the 4-star DPSs are usually much inferior to the 5-star DPSs, much more so than other roles, such as support for example, but this is not the case here, as he is a really powerful and impressive damage dealer, especially when you consider that he's a 4-star. He is really good at Constellation 0, and only becomes better the more cons that you have of him, but it is not required at all. He's great at Constellation 0. He works in quite a few teams, though the best ones being vape teams, and he is really fun to play. Heisenberg called, and he wants his lab back, but unlike him, this alchemist doesn't want you to say her name, because she has social anxiety. Sucrose is often described as a 4-star Kazuha, and some people are trying to use that to say that she's bad, but Kazuha is the best, most versatile support character in the game, so saying that Sucrose is a 4-star Kazuha only means that she is amazing, and she is. She fills the same role as Kazuha, shredding resistances and swirling elements for constant and endless reactions. She is really good on a ton of different teams, and in the Abyss, you can only have Kazuha on one team. The Pyro Archon's right-hand man, or woman I suppose, is cooking up something foul. Xiangling is an incredible sub-DPS for mono pyro and especially vaporized teams. Her Pyronado being her main asset works wonders in teams like Melt teams, vaporized teams, and Overload teams like Raiden National. Her pure versatility and ease of use together with her very impressive solo damage makes her a really valuable character to build. I don't really know what more to say about her, other than if you can sustain her ER requirements, she is just a really well balanced character that works in basically every team that needs a pyro unit. Yelan's little brother took a page out of her book. It's a bit of a trend in Genshin to have a 5-star equivalent for some of the good 4-stars, and Xingqiu is no exception. But he surprisingly enough sometimes outshines his 5-star counterpart Yelan. Xingqiu, much like Yelan, is a sub-DPS and support combo, but instead of being inferior to Yelan, it's more of a trade-off, as Xingqiu actually has better hydro application than Yelan, which is pretty impressive and very useful in teams that utilize it, such as various vaporized, electro-charged and permafrost teams and more, where you suddenly have the ability to have an extra support unit instead of 2 hydro applicators. Here are 2 honorable mentions. These are gonna be kinda quickfire-ish. So here's the first one. Barbara, Mondstadt's signature idol who works on the side in a church. What? She can heal your team to keep them alive and healthy, all while being able to apply hydro for reactions to crush her enemies. Very easy to play, very comfortable to play, and very useful in a lot of teams. The second honorable mention is, weirdly enough, Barbara's church colleague. What's going on with that church? A sub-DPS cryo support combo. She is probably less versatile than the rest of the characters on this list, as cryo doesn't lend itself to being viable on a lot of teams, which is kind of important for 4-stars, as that's where they get most of their value. But in teams that use her, she is very nice to have. She can do a decent amount of off-field damage. She applies cryo and gives a very nice crit rate boost. The true Pyro Archon, Bennett is the best 4-star and probably the best and most versatile support in the entire game, if you don't have C6 of him, that is. He is super capable in so many different scenarios and can take on so many different roles as a support. It's actually really surprising that he hasn't been nerfed. That's only good. He can apply pyro, not the best at it, but he can do it. He can actually do some decent burst damage. He can heal, and his healing is really, really impressive, especially considering all the other things that he can do as well. But the thing most people use him for, and also what he is best for, is his damage buffing, or more specifically his attack buffing. Oh, don't have enough attack on your main DPS? Don't worry, just use Benny and he can give almost 1,000 attack. That on top of everything else he can do just makes him the all-round best 4-star character in the game. So that's about it for this video. I hope it helped, even if just a little. I would appreciate a like and a subscribe. Don't feel pressured to do so though. But yeah, that's about it. Have a great one.